Welcome to the Practice X Factor, the place to be for mastering membership plans for your business. Here, you'll learn exactly how to grow your patient relationships and accelerate your profits without getting stuck on the dental insurance bandwagon.
Welcome to another episode of the Practice X Factor. Thanks for joining us. And today we've got some interesting and I think really applicable and timely content to share with you. But first, if you haven't already, you can check out some of our other episodes on your favorite podcast or YouTube regarding how to set up a membership plan in your office and how to do it the right way, where you're not just making it as a backup to dental insurance, but you're actually leading with membership plans. You can even help a lot of your patients see the benefits and the value and switch from insurance to membership plan, which makes your life so much easier because there's no third party dictating or jeopardizing the best treatment options for you. And at the same time, you can still stay insurance friendly. So today I want to share with you some insights from one of the best books I think you can use as far as case acceptance, case presentation, getting patients to accept treatment in your office. And I'm going to share 3 points from it that I think are really valuable. And the book is No BS, Trust-Based Marketing, The Ultimate Guide to Creating Trust in an Understandably Untrusting World by Dan S. Kennedy and Matt Zagula. So I've been a fan of Dan Kennedy for many years and read a lot of his books and been to courses and seminars, and I really love marketing from the standpoint of really being integrated in your practice, but also having integrity in what we're doing. Not necessarily running ads per se, but really having good marketing. And a lot of what I've found is there's a lot of companies out there trying to get you to sell Facebook ads or online ads or Google ads. And if you're just in the business of advertising, you're not really marketing. Advertising is a component of marketing, but it's not the foundation for it. And when marketing's done right, it simultaneously attracts the right fit patients for your practice and it repels wrong fit patients for your practice. And what that does is that frees you and your team up to spend more time on the people who are most aligned with the message and the type of dentistry you're doing and the type of practice. And I think the days of being everything to everybody are disappearing quick. Some of the corporate or large chain practices appeal to this audience, but most people who are looking for a really good relationship with a really good dental team aren't going to those type of practices. So DSOs try to threaten or make us feel like we're not going to be able to compete, but that's one area that they'll never be able to compete is with your story and with the relationships in your office. And so that's why this book really stuck out to me. And I wanted to share 3 keys from this book that I think you'll find relevant. And the first one is using trust as the foundation of your practice wealth, right? So trust with your team comes first, because when you have trust with them, they're going to help you grow your practice, and then they're going to be more confident in what they share with your patients. A couple points from this is that trust drives equity and it drives long-term success for your practice. You're prioritizing relationships over transactions. So many advisors today talk about value, give value. But if it's done the right way, the value is actually built through the relationship, not giving the patient a whole bunch of freebies up front, which can make you look desperate at times and look just like everybody else, which feels transactional. People become more and more suspicious of freebies because they feel like you have something to sell them. And this is a way you can use trust as a competitive advantage in your practice. The second one is building trust through familiarity, right? So in this book, it talks a lot about how repeated exposure increases trust. So when a message is said continually, or you and your team use the same language, like for us, We don't like saying the word extraction. It sounds painful. It sounds kind of violent almost, right? So we just call it a removal. So we have to make sure that the whole team is using the word removal or removing teeth, not extracting. I'm not saying you have to do that exactly in your practice, but it's important that there's alignment there with the team and that the message is repeated and you have stories to share with your patients. Implementing an omnipresent strategy, maintaining consistent positive presence. So the old adage is that familiarity breeds contempt, right? But the point made here is that it actually breeds trust. And the more people see and interact with you, the more comfortable and trusting they become. There's a really good example that Dan Kennedy gives in another one of his books about a dry cleaning business and how they found the 3 and 30 rule. And the 3 and 30 rule is if they got a new customer to come to their dry cleaning business 3 times within 30 days, they would drive past almost 10 other dry cleaners to come there. And so they would use things like bounce back offers and bring a friend and specials and those kind of things, right? Not free things, but just things that were time limited. And that's really easy to do in a dental practice because we're prescriptive and we create a treatment plan. And a lot of those treatment plans are going to involve the patient coming in 3 times within 30 days anyway. So you have to find those quick wins and not try to just hit home runs and go for the full smile reconstruction right out of the gates for somebody who's not having any symptoms or they're just kicking the idea around. Sometimes it's just taking out that one painful tooth or fixing a chip on a tooth first to build some trust. And that's where the familiarity over and over builds that. So Dan Kennedy, his strategy of omnipresence, he describes it as a target audience of prospects in a defined market being bumped into every time a prospect turns around. So that means how can you be everywhere? Now, I wouldn't suggest that you go spend a whole bunch of money on billboards and try to be everywhere, okay? But you're trying to be everywhere in that person's small influence. So when they pull out their toothbrush, if your name's on it, that's an example. But if they go, hey, yeah, I want to whiten my teeth, and then they go, oh, I remember that handout that Dr. Jones' office gave me. I'm going to read through that again, right? And then they get a follow-up text from your office saying, hey, how do your teeth feel after we took that tooth out? Okay, now you have that omnipresence. That's an example of that where they have multiple ways to remember you and think about you. And that helps preventing them from getting distracted by other things. He talks a lot about a small audience in this book. And if you have a really narrow niche audience, that's actually better, more profitable, and a better use of your time than trying to spread a very generalized dole message to a whole bunch of people. Plus, in most small businesses, which if your collections are under 10 million, you're considered a small business, 10 million per year, then you just don't have the bandwidth or the marketing budget to do that. So I think that's an important point made in this book, and something that you can utilize in your practice today is how do you build familiarity with your patients? That might be a newsletter, right? It might be a weekly email. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but make it so that you are more than just a dentist or a hygienist or a doctor to them. You're actually an advocate and you focus on their total health and you help them get into their primary care provider for blood work or whatever it is. That builds trust, and then you can tie it back to your dental prescription. And the third point that I'd like to share from this is how using a prescriptive approach to your sales is key and positioning yourself as an expert. Now, directly from the book, he talks about this in a couple different ways, but he essentially says that the last thing in the world you want to be identified is a salesman. So when he's talking about this prescriptive approach to sales, what it means is you don't want to pitch things or push things or make things sound like they're not needed. And that's really easy to do. I see a lot of dentists and healthcare providers going, well, if you want to do this and you want to do that, and they kind of make this a la carte treatment plan. And, you know, for us, we found that if someone wants to get implants, but they're not going to keep up on their recare, I'm not just going to do that implant, no matter how much they pay me or offer me. We will turn those patients away because they're not in a shared win-win relationship. They're just looking for me to do all the work, them to show up. And even if they have all the money, they're going to come back for 100 bite adjustments. And when they get plaque and some bone loss around an implant, it's going to be your fault and these kind of things. And I would just suggest you don't work with those kind of people, but you can't judge them too quickly either, because some people haven't been to the dentist in 10 years and they have the right mindset. And so you have to get to know people and find out if they'll start keeping some small commitments. And if they can, you can build on that. But if they can't keep even a small commitment, then I would advise not to take that money, no matter how big it is or how much your practice you think you need it, because it will not be healthy in the long run. And it's also refreshing for your team to see you turn away someone who doesn't align with your values. So he continues about the last thing in the world you want to be identified as a salesman, and he broadens it to selling of products and services and those kind of things. Instead, he says, if you get yourself identified as a doctor and engage in diagnosis and prescription, then the resistance from the prospect, guest, customer, patient is minimized because you move up to a high trust position. And I think an area we can do much better with this in dentistry is really talking about the problem and the condition and the diagnosis with our patients instead of the solution. So when someone comes in with a cracked tooth, a lot of times the discussion is, hey, you need a crown. Hey, you need a root canal. But we haven't addressed is, hey, there's a crack in that tooth and you have bone loss and you have gum disease and you have lots of other decayed teeth and you're high risk for decay, and maybe we need to get some saliva testing done or some blood work or some labs to figure out why this is happening. Now you have a much more helpful plan. And I know what a lot of people think, well, how am I going to fit this into my schedule? And where's the time to do all this? How am I going to get the money to do this? And the point is, if you build trust the right way, the referrals alone are going to come back to you in waves, and you're going to be dealing with people who align with what you are prescribing, instead of jumping into it saying you need a crown and a root canal. That makes you sound like every other dental office in town too, so you're going to get price shopped and compared to, and that's probably not what you want to do, because that's a losing battle. So those are kind of the key points that the book made, and some things that really stuck out to me that I think you will find valuable as well, and that you can apply to your practice starting as soon as today. And one last thing I wanted to share that they talk about in this book is where trust comes from. I think this is key because, as they describe, there's no business or practice that can't be strengthened by drawing on some sources of trust. And they list them out. One of them is authority, meaning you're a doctor or hygienist or PhD, whatever. Your affinity, so the experience you have, shared backgrounds, philosophy, credibility, longevity, so how long you've been in business or how long you've been doing a certain procedure, right? Celebrity, okay, so if you're known locally because you are in the town parade every year or because you help out with a local school, whatever it is. Frequency, talked about that, and familiarity. Okay, second party transferal, so an earned or borrowed or rented endorsement. So what awards or endorsements do you have from third parties that you can share? Place, this is your geographic or target market. And then demonstration, which is seeing is believing. And that kind of gets into the risk reversal concept. And I think risk reversal is really key in dentistry. We can't guarantee things in healthcare, but we can guarantee the service. We can't guarantee the outcome of treatment or guarantee that an implant won't fail, but we can guarantee that they'll be seen on time, or we can guarantee that if the implant does have an issue, we will do Y at no extra cost, right? We've done this a lot when someone comes in with an old crown and they need a new one, and maybe they're a little suspicious and they don't know if they want to jump into it or it's time prohibitive. And so we'll offer them, say, hey, we're going to charge you to do this, but if there's an issue with it within 4 months, we'll just credit that towards your future treatment. Now, the way that builds trust is there's some risk reversal. We're not guaranteeing an outcome, and we're not refunding the patient because it takes time to do that. It's going to take time to see them again, or to retreat it, or redo the work, or do the new work, whatever it is. So you want to make sure that you're getting paid appropriately in the meantime, but then also that the patient knows, hey, there's a safety net in case this doesn't work out. And that's one of the best things that's helped us in our practice. So if you'd like a side-by-side comparison guide that we share with our patients on, hey, here's how a membership works, and here's insurance, and here's the pros and cons of both, that has really been helpful for us because we're not having the membership as some backup option, and also we're leading with it. We're open with it. We're transparent. We're letting people know, hey, this is 2024, and dental insurance is not keeping up with the times. And so if you're looking for something better or different, we have some answers for you. So thanks for checking out this episode, and look forward to your feedback and comments, and love to hear how this book or other books that you've implemented into your practice have helped you out. So we'll catch you on the next episode, and have an awesome week.
For more tools and tips on how to create an X Factor membership practice, visit yourpracticegrowth.com and subscribe to our free weekly email today.